Hey, this is Shawn Rodehorst with Concordia University, Nebraska. I'm currently an MBA student in the Strategic Management Capstone course with Professor Brandon Schulte, and today I'm going to be doing a case analysis of GoPro. So a little bit of company background on GoPro. They were started in 2004 by current CEO Nick Woodman when he noticed there was a lack of options for quality action cameras available. And then already by 2012, they had a 21.5% market share of the total digital camcorder industry in the United States, which is pretty unprecedented growth in this industry. And then currently they're headquartered in California, and then they operate out of 40,000 retail outlets across the world, according to David & David. And then they're sold in many electronic stores such as Best Buy, who is the largest customer, accounting for about 19% of total revenue. And then currently they're moving into the drone market. That was a recent one. This was to add to their current line of cameras and related accessories. And we'll talk later on about whether or not the unveiling of the drone was successful or not. So then for GoPro's business model and their strategy, they operate mainly as a manufacturer, which usually applies to someone who makes their products in-house, but GoPro is a company that outsources their products and then they actually assemble them from pre-made parts, which can be considered a manufacturer according to Rutt III. They do in fact though manufacture their own software in-house, kind of their digital imaging software. And then for the strategy, they are focus, differentiation, or what's also known as best value. Mainly they're just looking to create value for the consumer by putting in as many features as they can into the product at yet still an affordable price. So then for GoPro's ethical conduct, there are three things they're battling with right now. The first is patent infringement lawsuits. So several other manufacturers of action cameras are claiming they're infringing on their patent. Those are still outstanding, so it remains to be seen the results on those lawsuits. The second is just the overall general extreme nature of the product. So basically the camera is made to go where no other camera can go. So that can push consumers to an edge and make them try to capture videos and pictures that they shouldn't really be in those situations. So it could be considered unethical to push consumers that far. And then the unveiling of the Karma drone, investors are saying that they were misled by statements of the drone, and the drone unveiling had to keep being pushed back. So basically investors are unhappy with it because it was a dud. And so they're trying to get back their money essentially and create a lawsuit against GoPro, which who knows exactly whether or not this will turn into something, but maybe investors have something there because they were kind of misled. They were told that this was going to bring GoPro back to profits and this was going to be the next great thing. And as you see there, it was recalled almost immediately, which obviously isn't good for profits, but it's also could be a potential ethical issue because it was quoted as being a simple battery issue. Well, that may be just to calm everyone down, but if it's such a simple thing on a production of something that had been in the works for a year or two, shouldn't that have been taken care of before? So you can see where maybe this opens up to the idea that maybe they were cutting corners, kind of not really being truly ethical in the production of the product. Luckily, no one was hurt. The drones were reportedly just falling out of the sky, but again, luckily no one was hurt. There was no property damage. They did get on top of the recall right away. But again, it just lends to the idea of maybe they cut corners in the production of the drone. But overall, I don't want to make it out to seem like GoPro is this inherently bad company. they do a lot for charity. They set up foundations that are helping small business owners. Nick Woodman actually was under fire for giving away too many of his shares to charity. So they're not an overall unethical company. Just recently, there are situations where, again, maybe they've cut some corners, maybe they've infringed on some patents. Again, we're not sure on those lawsuits. They're still outstanding, but just being in the press for these reasons isn't great for your overall ethical conduct. So looking at Porter's 5 forces model from David and David, the 5 main forces are rivalry, suppliers, substitutes, new entrants, and consumers. And the rivalry for GoPro is getting stronger. Right now I would list it as moderate, but it's getting stronger by the year. When they first started, it was very weak. There was really no other competitors in the action camera market, so that's why they experienced so much growth early on. But now there are companies with a lot more infrastructure coming into the market, and so the rivalry is becoming much stronger in recent years, and that'll only continue to grow. Suppliers, they have a fairly strong relationship because this is a fairly high-tech product, obviously, so there's only so many suppliers, so GoPro can't just willingly switch suppliers without having pretty big problems on their hand. Substitutes, I would list it as moderate because there's not a whole lot of close substitutes, but what could be considered a substitute, which is becoming more and more of a big problem for GoPro and any other action cameras, are smartphones. And that can be considered a substitute, even though it's still a camera. People don't have to go out and buy another camera because they're completely satisfied with the camera they have on their phone. And the capability of smartphone cameras has gotten so much better in recent years. Smartphones themselves are becoming much more weatherproof, waterproof, all that, which is one of the main reasons that GoPro was founded. And now, like I said, the capability of smartphones are getting so much better. Now you can shoot in 4K video on the new iPhone. So the threat of substitutes is getting stronger and stronger as we go. And then new entrants is relatively moderate. The average individual isn't going to have the know-how or the capital to make a competitive action camera, but pretty much any other company with any kind of camera knowledge and the capital can make an action camera, and we're seeing that. We're seeing companies like Sony and Garmin that have the industry knowledge come out with their own action camera. So that kind of contributes to the rivalry, but then also the new entrants as well. And then consumers, they have the threat of consumers very strong because they really have no switching costs. Really the only cost is buying the new camera. So the consumers have a very strong force here. So then a SWOT analysis on GoPro, we're not going to go through everything, but just a couple of things I want to highlight. They need to continue to expand their global presence. They need to utilize social media to kind of grow their brand and grow their celebrity endorsers. The great thing that is great for their outlook is that the outdoor recreation growth rate is going up, which if you're an action weatherproof camera, that could lend to some great possibilities there. Really, the two things that I've also highlighted in recommendations is they need to figure out a way to work with a smartphone manufacturer to create either a GoPro phone or maybe even a case just to capitalize on the growth of smartphones and their camera capabilities. And then also they need to continue to innovate. I mean, that's what got them to where they are. They need to continue to innovate and go into the virtual reality market. And again, I will touch on these later in the recommendations as well, but I just wanted to show you the overall SWOT analysis. All right, now for the fun stuff, the financials. As you can see, GoPro did not do well in 2016. All of their negative ratios are due to the fact that on their 10K report, They reported a loss of over $400 million last year. They increased expenses. They increased R&D expenses, pouring money into the drone. It didn't work. And then also their sales were down as well. Some are viewing the GoPro camera as stagnant. And like I mentioned earlier, there's far more competition than there was several years ago. And the other cameras are just as good, if not better, in the opinion of some. Like the Garmin camera uses their GPS technology that they're known for and implements that in their camera, so you can measure your speed, your location, your elevation, all that within the video and the photos that you take. So that's just one example of other companies using their infrastructure and taking that into an action camera that can be just as good, and again, if not better than GoPro, which hurts their main core product of their camera, which is really their only moneymaker right now. They tried to diversify into drones. That didn't work, so it just all came to a head in 2016. They had kind of been trending that way, and then, like I said, 2016, as you can see, financially, they just did not do well. Okay, so what do they do? As I touched on in the SWOT analysis, there are two main things that I recommend for GoPro. The first is they need to get into the smartphone industry. The smartphone camera capability is killing the overall camera and camcorder industry, but it's also hurting GoPro because they are marketed as this point and shoot action camera that you can take with you. It's small enough, you can put it in your pocket. Well, that's a smartphone. People don't need another camera anymore because the capability of a smartphone camera is so much better. You can take slow-mo videos, you can take time-lapse videos, you can take 4K videos, all on a smartphone. So if they could team up with, let's say, a Samsung and create a Samsung GoPro phone that would be marketed as this totally weatherproof phone that has a great camera on it, you know, I think this could capitalize on this trend of cameras being such a key proponent of smartphones. And then their second one is to further develop virtual reality technologies. So currently, they pretty much only have the rig and the cameras to go with it to create virtual reality videos. But I'm suggesting that they further this, and then they could actually make like featured videos used by their celebrity kind of action sports stars to give the extreme feel of what these people do for a living, whether it's skiing and snowboarding off these huge jumps. People from their own home could view these videos and kind of experience the extreme feel from the comfort of their own home. And this could even then move on to kind of home videos that then, instead of just showing on the TV what you just did, you went and climbed this mountain or whatever it is, you can let your friends and family experience what you did. And I think that's the whole point of GoPro, is they want to be there so you can capture these experiences. So virtual reality seems like a no-brainer there, and it really kind of goes with their overall mission of what they want to do. And then this could potentially be compatible with a phone. I mean, if they did make a GoPro phone, then obviously you could view these videos straight from the phone. You have an app or whatever it is. And then also, to go with the smartphone kind of idea, they could also, if they're not going to make a new phone, they could make a GoPro case. There's really only about one company out there that makes the majority of kind of rugged phone cases, and so they could kind of diversify and make some phone cases as well, if they do not want to go into the manufacturing of phones. So those are the recommendations I have, mainly just to diversify the company, get away from being basically a one-trick pony of selling just the camera, because when the camera sales are bad financially, they're underwater, which you saw with the last slide. Alright, so that was my case analysis of GoPro, and I just want to thank you for watching and listening.